morning everyone, this is Parveen. Today we are on the second and last session of class 10th economics chapter 2, different sectors of Indian economy. In our last session we have seen that there are different classification of sectors of Indian economy. Okay, we are having three different classification. First is on the basis of the activity, and second one is on the basis of the ownership, and third one is on the basis of the working condition. And on that basis, when we take the first one, that is on the basis of activity, Indian economic sectors can be divided into three, that is primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. We have seen that primary sector is related with the activities which in primary sector activities are related with nature, in secondary sector activities are related with industry, and in tertiary sector activities are related with providing services. And second classification says that on the basis of ownership, under which there are two different types of sectors in Indian economy, that is public sector and private sector. Public sector means which is totally owned, controlled and managed by the government, and private sector means which is totally owned, managed and controlled by the private individuals. I have given you examples also. Private sector we can take example of Reliance, Tata, Tisco, and for public sector we can take an example of railways, defense, atomic energy. Okay, then third one is on the basis of working condition. Our economic system or sectors in our economic system can be divided into two, that is organized sector and unorganized sector. In organized sector, all the works, working hours, salaries are fixed and certain facilities have been given to the employers. But in unorganized sector, vice versa was there. There was no facilities which is provided to the employers and no fixed working hours and no fixed salary is there. Okay, and we have also seen that this problem has been solved by the government. Government has taken many measures to solve the problem of unorganized sector, to solve the problem of employers under unorganized sector. That is why government has started with the Labour Act. According to the Labour Act, the working hours will be 8 hours, not more than 8 hours, and each and every person who is working under unorganized sector will get a wages not less than 200 rupees per day. So like this, wages has been fixed and working hours are also fixed to solve the problem of unorganized sector. Now in this particular session, today's session, we are going to learn that when we are talking about the national income, Indian sectors, different sectors of Indian economy contributes towards the national income. When we count national income, we take the value of goods and services which is produced in our country during a year. Okay, and when we talk about the production in our country, production can be done under three sectors, mainly under three sectors in Indian economy, that is primary sector, secondary sector and tertiary sector. So when we talk about calculating national income, we take into consideration these three sectors. So today in this particular session we are going to learn that how we can compare these three sectors when we are calculating national income, or when we wanted to calculate that how much production was there in our country during a year, which is also called as GDP, gross domestic product. Okay, so first we will start with comparing three sectors. Now when we compare three sectors, as in our last session also I have told you that these three sectors are interdependent or interconnected with each other. Like as I have told you, agricultural sector or primary sector provides raw materials to secondary sector, and food grains to both secondary and tertiary sector. Industries, manufacturing or secondary sector provides infanticides, pesticides to, or different kind tractors and all to primary sector, and they also produce certain consumer goods for tertiary sector. In the same way, tertiary sector also helps primary and secondary sector by providing them banking facility, by providing them insurance facility, by providing them warehousing facility, by providing them transportation facilities and communication facilities, all these things. So like that we can say that these three sectors are depend upon each other, primary, secondary and tertiary. Now when we compare these three sectors, large number of goods and services has been produced in each sector every year in Indian economy, and large number of people have been employed under these three sectors. And national income, as I have told you, estimation of national income depends upon these three sectors, production of goods and services under these three sectors. Now when we wanted to calculate national income, first we need to calculate GDP. First we need to calculate that how much production was there in each sector in an year. Now it is difficult to calculate production, total production of goods and services in each sector. That is why we have our economists have taken a very come up with a very easy way to calculate national income. So over here we will see that how do we calculate total production in each sector. So further we can use it in the estimation of national income. So the value of goods and services, the total value of goods and services should be used rather than adding up actual numbers. So over here they have taken, come up with the idea, come up with the solution that instead of adding up goods which has been produced, they are going to add the value of that goods which has been produced. Because ultimately whatever goods primary, secondary and tertiary sector is producing and they are interconnected, the value of final goods and services has been counted. So that there should be no double counting. Double counting means, like, let's take an example. Over here what we are saying that only the total value means the price of that goods and services has been counted, not the goods has been counted. When we are counting the national income or when we are counting the production in each sector, we are not counting the number of goods which has been produced. We are counting the price, total price of goods and services which has been produced. Okay, and when we are considering the total value or total price of goods and services which has been total price of final goods and services which has been produced, only value of final goods and services needs to be added to avoid double counting. We can take an example. See, when farmers are producing food grains, or when we say when farmers are producing wheat, let's take an example that wheat is of rupees 10 per kg. Now that wheat has been sold to the manufacturing company to make a flour. Okay, to make a flour. So when 10 rupees per kg, manufacturing companies are buying that wheat to make a flour of rupees 10 per kg. Now that flour can be bought by the bakers who are making a cake, and the price is maybe rupees 13 or 15 rupees. Okay, let's take an example. The price raises to 15 rupees, from 10 rupees to 15 rupees, because when manufacturer make flour with that wheat, it has certain cost of production. It includes certain cost of production. Now when bakers buy that commodity, buy that flour for 15 rupees per kg, then bakers are making a cake, muffins and other things out of it. And then baker will charge at least 18 rupees for that, because bakers also have some cost of production. So over here the wheat which is 10 rupees kg, then the wheat becomes cake which make the price rupees 18. So over here we are going to calculate only the price of final good, that is cake, which is 18 rupees. We are not calculating 10 rupees and 15 rupees because that value is already added in the value of final goods and service, or in the value of the final good. That is why over here, to avoid double counting, when we calculate production in each sector, we only calculate the total price of the final goods and services produced in each sector. Understand? So it avoids double counting. We don't need to calculate 10 rupees and 15 rupees again, because if we calculate 10 rupees and 15 rupees and then again 18 rupees, then it will be a double counting and we will have a mistake. That is why we only take into consideration the value of final goods, which includes the value of intermediary goods also, like raw material or flours. Understand? So over here, that's how we calculate total production in each sector, by taking the total price or total value of goods and services, each goods and services which is produced in each sector. Okay. So now moving on further, as I have told you, this is called as gross domestic product. When we calculate the production in each sector, altogether that particular concept is called as gross domestic product, GDP. Now what is GDP? As I have told you, the total value of final goods and services produced in each sector within a country during a particular year. GDP means the total value of final goods and services produced in a country during a year. That means in the whole year, in each sector, production was there, we only take into consideration the total value of goods and final goods and services produced in each sector within a country during a particular year. So we will find out GDP, or we will find out total production in our country. Okay, by calculating total production in each sector, which is called as GDP. And further, that GDP has been used to calculate national income for a country. Okay, now when we talk about these three sectors, primary, secondary and tertiary, historically we can say that before agricultural sector was growing more faster, but as time changes, 2011 from 2011 or 2012 there was a rapid change in the production in these three sectors as tertiary sector was rising more and more when compared to industries and when compared to primary sector or agriculture. Okay, now what is the reason behind that? What is the reason that we are saying that tertiary sector has grown more than primary and secondary sector? The reason is, first one is it considered as basic services. Tertiary sector provides us certain basic services like hospitals, education, banking facility, transportation, hospitality. All these things comes under tertiary sector. Like many professionals are there, teachers, doctors, lawyers, they also come under tertiary sector and they are considered as basic services, and we are using basic services more than using goods which has been produced in agricultural sector and secondary sector. That is why tertiary sector is growing faster than primary and secondary sector. Second reason is development of agriculture and industry leads to development of tertiary sector. As I have told you, when we talk about the development of agriculture, development of tertiary sector depends upon development of agriculture and industry. As agricultural activities and industrial activities require certain services, and that services can be provided to them by tertiary sector, like banking services, loan and all. Then we have a service of warehousing, transportation facilities, insurance facilities. These services are there. These aids to trade are there, which has been provided by the tertiary sector to primary and secondary sector. That is why development of primary and secondary sector ultimately leads to the development of tertiary sector. Third reason was, as our income rises, people demands to have a services. People demands to have a comfort and luxurious life for which they use certain services which can be provided under tertiary sector. That is also a reason why tertiary sector is growing faster. And last reason is development in nowadays, when we talk about the modern world, development of information technology and communication technology was more. And information and communication technology is there in the tertiary sector. It is a service which provided by tertiary sector. So because of the development in information and communication technology, our tertiary sector grows faster than agriculture and secondary sector. Now when we talk about these three sectors, we will see where the most people are employed: in primary, in secondary or in agriculture. Now, as we know that India is an agrarian country, and 74% or 70, you can say more than half of the population of India depends upon agriculture. So over here you can say that more than half of the people worked in primary sector. Now, when we talk about this, that more than half of the people are working in primary sector faces the problem of under unemployment. Now, what is under unemployment? Under unemployment means where only one or two people is required for the production, but more than 2 or 3 people are there, and that extra 2 or 3 people who are working, they are not required because they will not change the level of production. They will not increase the level of production, or they will not decrease the level of production. So they are called as unemployed, and the situation is called as under unemployment. Like, let's take an example. When we talk about agricultural activities, as agricultural activities are done in rural areas, and rural areas, they have a joint family system, and all the family members are working on the same field. That field requires only 2 people to work on. Okay, but 4 to 5 people are working on the same field, which does not increase the level of production. So the 3 extra people who are working on the field are called as under unemployed because they are not contributing in the production process. Okay, so this under unemployment problem is there because of the higher dependency on the primary sector for the employment. That is why government has taken many steps to change it. Government is providing training processes in rural areas so that they can start with their own small scale industries and cottage industries. So burden on agriculture for employment is getting lesser, or it can be eliminated. And now we will see how to create more employment. As I have told you, government has started with many schemes to create employment opportunities in all the three sectors equally. So the burden will not be there on one particular sector. For that, government has started with many schemes like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act and Indira Gandhi Rozgar Yojana. Like that, many schemes and programs have been implemented by the government to give employment opportunities to unemployed people in our country. So I hope you have understood whatever I have taught you today, and I hope you have understood the chapter also, that is different sectors of an Indian economy. If you are having any doubt, I will clear your doubt in your Zoom session. So thank you.